Thank you, Nirmala, for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
And look, we've heard your two updates on Sri Lanka in the past couple of months.
Yes.
But I'm keen to find out more. And what I was really keen to find out was apparently the Sri Lanka president came over to this country for the funeral, and this provided an opportunity for you to make a point. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yes, we went to protest. One of our people found out with some difficulty. I think that he was staying at the Intercontinental Hilton, I suppose that's what it's called, on Park Lane. And there was a reception at the High Commission yesterday, which we missed, but some Sri Lankans seem to have gone there to meet with him, a reception but anyway, we couldn't protest that. But so today, a group of us went there and we did a protest. At first, the guy said he wasn't there, but he wasn't staying there. But then another worker came and confirmed to us that he was indeed there. So it was a symbolic protest. We don't know whether he was there inside the hotel at the time we were protesting, but we did do that between 3:30 and 5:30, 5:45.
So what is this president? What's he up to at the moment? And was he someone that that people in Sri Lanka were keen to depose?
Oh no, this president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, I'll just call him Ranil for ease, he had lost his own seat in the last election. There was nobody else elected from his party. And the only way he came into parliament as an MP was because of this proportional representation procedures, special procedures, which allows the party to get seats from the number of votes you have polled, called the national list. It's a device. And then when Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the guy who fled, was in serious trouble, he appointed this man as acting prime minister, and then he fled the country and then appointed him acting president from somewhere else, from outside the country, after he had been chased out. And still these people claim that his appointment was constitutional. And then through a special constitutional procedure again, only the parliament elected him. And of course, in parliament, the majority party was the former, the rulers who all had to step down. The protesters forced them to step down. It's their party that had the majority seats. So, and there was a lot of horse trading, money exchange hands, and he managed to become president. So he is thoroughly discredited, has no political legitimacy, no mandate. He has become president. Now, he has protected these Rajapaksas even before. So it's widely accepted that he came to power on a deal made between himself and the Rajapaksas, that dynastic family that were ruling and were very corrupt and mismanaged the economy, etc. So we don't think that he will do anything to prosecute them, put them on trial for the various crimes that they had committed. So that's one thing. The second thing is he's thoroughly neoliberal. He believes in a small state. He believes in the government doing nothing. So do you think this is helpful at a time like this? So several months have gone and still even the IMF is saying, look, you must have some measure to look after your vulnerable people, the very poor. But they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything to devise a system of economic relief for the poorest. Absolutely nothing. And this in a country which has had a really good welfare safety net, when you consider it's compared to many other countries in the global south. Sri Lanka used to shine as famed welfare state. So he is very much into privatization, etc. Privatization, the small state and all of that sort of thing. So he's useless as far as turning around things economically, one. And, he has just taken over all the powers of the excessive powers that the executive presidency has, as if there is a huge critique about the executive presidency in the country. And he's not minded any of that. That's one thing. Now, I just wanted to tell you about how the situation is deteriorating even further. Already 6 million people are starving and getting malnourished. 2 days ago in a meeting, I had a shocking statistic was read out by a worker in an NGO in Sri Lanka, saying that 40,000 people are going to the hospital to get saline injected because they are malnourished. Daily, 40,000 saline injections or for malnourishment. I don't know. I mean, I was just shocked by this fact. And there's I can't remember any time when people were so seriously malnourished in Sri Lanka because we had the welfare state. And prices have tripled and quadrupled. Food items, medicines, we're out. You will get a credit line from India or something, and for a short while there will be fuel. Some barrels of oil will come. And then when it's done, again, still you have mile-long queues for essential items. And the situation is getting worse. And there is one other thing that I could tell you is about the IMF. But the IMF, we have a long history with the IMF. This is our 17th IMF bailout. But IMF, this is a bailout actually. The previous ones were a bit different. But what happens with the IMF is this time, because we are so indebted and we are bankrupt and we have defaulted on our debt, the IMF's sole aim is debt sustainability. It's not really bailing us out in that way, like, giving us a helping hand to come out of this whole economic collapse. So for them, the interest of our creditors is very important. So now the structure of debt in Sri Lanka, 10% to India, 10% to Japan, 10% to China. But 47%, nearly 50% of our debts are to companies in the global financial markets, like BlackRock, Ashmore, Vanguard, Alliance. They are all based in London and New York and Frankfurt probably. And London is one of the big seats of these. And what they do is they give these, our debts are sovereign bond debts. This is a new regime, I think. I don't know whether it's a new regime, but this has become the favored way of lending credit to these poorer countries by private finance companies like BlackRock. And I was listening to an expert saying that there is no way to regulate this because this is like frontier country. When the debt matures, if you can't pay your debt back, all of it by then, the interest rate doubles. So at some point, the interest and the capital will be the same. So it is a cutthroat mechanism. And we are hooked to these private creditors. And these are really, thoroughly unethical ways of extracting money from global southern countries. Sri Lanka is not the only one. This is something that the left in this country has to discuss in here and now, because the global economic downturn, but these companies are making money hand over fist,
Right.
companies like these, these big, rich investment banks and
so
finance
everyone's
companies.
talking about the IMF and China, but it's actually much more complicated than that. There are companies that are making a lot of money that are not those two things.
No. The thing is, the IMF is a small lender as far as I'm concerned. So there is an agreement between the IMF and not an agreement, a staff level understanding has been reached. There is an offer of $2.9 billion. Our debt is $55 billion or thereabouts, give or take $1 billion. I mean, this 2.9 billion is not a bailout.
No.
What it does is, and to Pakistan, which is 10 times our size, Sri Lanka size, they have given 1.1 billion, which is a joke. So what, and with the floods and everything. Now, what it is it simply lifts us out of that defaulted state where our credit ratings for financial markets has slipped down so badly. So it makes us a bit more credit worthy. So we go back to the same lenders and become indebted again. And this is what, Varoufakis was talking about, that you go on and on and on, and you are indebted for perpetuity, and you're paying that interest. So this is what is happening. And interestingly, a political economist from Sri Lanka used Varoufakis as phrase. The way the IMF, when it gives this $2.9 billion, we make, our export earnings are $1.5 billion a month. So what is this 2.9 billion going to do for us? They're going to string it out over 48 months, and it won't start now. For the next 6 months, we won't see it. So in the meantime, lots of people may die. I don't know. So now the thing is, so they call it fiscal waterboarding, because even before we got the IMF agreement, we haven't got it yet really, but they wanted us to be on good behavior. So they cracked the whip, and we started a lot of the processes of talking about privatizing our assets, selling off, leasing, or obviously they don't want us, they want us to have a tight fiscal thingy, like they don't want us to spend on welfare, all of that, the sort of private education, public free education, free healthcare will all come under scrutiny, and some of it can be axed. So these are the dangerous things for the country. And already with austerity, the Sri Lankan economy has started shrinking. And that is one of the classic things that happens with IMF conditionalities, apparently, in many of these countries. The economy, with austerity, your economy shrinks. Loads of people have lost jobs. Small businesses are shutting down. So how do you get out of the economic hole with these IMF conditionalities? Some left economists feel that we shouldn't have even gone to the IMF, because it really doesn't do much for us, except gets us back into the debt cycle.
Yeah.
So, and we are not the only one. There are a whole string of countries waiting to go through the same process, and have been through the same process. And the IMF this time is discussing debt restructuring with the private creditors on site. So, you can see who is calling the shots here. It's about looking after the monies of these private financiers. That's what it is, really. And the people of Sri Lanka can go to hell, basically. Can I just have like 2 sentences, literally? Two sentences.
Yeah.
But this new president has also done one other thing. On the very first day he came to power, he started a huge wave of new wave of repression. The arrests are happening daily. 3,500 have already been arrested, and 1,200 out of those are in remand. And he has emergency powers have been brought in. He's using the dreaded Prevention of Terrorism Act, which is absolutely draconian, against these thoroughly non-violent, peaceful protesters. And so, but the protesters are planning something else, because they know that this is for the long haul, and they're planning lots of different ways of protesting. So maybe I get a chance to talk about that another time, because they are experimenting with new ideas.
Right. Well, that's good. We need to keep up with all that's going on. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Crispin.